espionage, slavery, revolution, executions. Those are not the ingredients listed on your morning coffee, but they probably should be, because the drink sitting quietly beside you right now has funded empires, terrified rulers, crossed oceans in secret, and helped build the modern world. Coffee is not merely a beverage. It may be one of the most powerful technologies humanity ever accidentally discovered. And somehow, it all began because a goat refused to sleep. More than 1,000 years ago, in the mountains of Ethiopia, a shepherd noticed something strange. His goats were awake long after sunset, running, leaping, refusing to rest. The cause was a small red berry growing on nearby shrubs. Nobody knew that the berry would eventually fuel factories, inspire revolutions, and become part of the daily ritual of billions. If coffee can hide a history like that, imagine what else history has hidden in plain sight. Subscribe to this channel now, because this channel exists to uncover hidden garden wealth. The first people to understand coffee's true power were not merchants. They were monks. Across the Red Sea in Yemen, Sufi mystics were searching for a way to remain awake through long nights of prayer. Coffee offered an answer. Suddenly, exhaustion had competition. Night no longer belonged entirely to sleep. The drink spread quickly through monasteries, villages, and trade routes. Pilgrims carried it. Travelers carried it. Merchants carried it. Wherever coffee arrived, something strange seemed to happen. People stayed awake longer, talked longer, worked longer, thought longer. And once people discovered they could extend the useful hours of a day, there was no going back. Coffee was no longer a drink. It was an advantage. That realization transformed a quiet port city on Yemen's western coast into the center of a global obsession. Its name was Mocha. For more than a century, Mocha controlled the coffee trade. If Europe wanted coffee, coffee passed through Mocha. If empires wanted coffee, coffee passed through Mocha. The city became rich, very rich. The rulers of Yemen understood something centuries before modern corporations did. If you control supply, you control power. Exported beans were often roasted or boiled before leaving the country, making them impossible to plant elsewhere. The message was simple: drink our coffee, but never grow your own. For a while, the strategy worked. The coffee empire looked untouchable. But history has never been kind to monopolies, because somewhere beyond the borders of Yemen, someone was already planning a theft. The monopoly looked invincible, but it wasn't, because coffee had developed a problem that every successful empire eventually faces. Everyone wanted what it had. The Dutch struck first. Somehow, somewhere, living coffee plants escaped Yemen and reached Dutch colonies in Asia. The secret was out, but the most extraordinary theft was still to come. In 1723, a young French naval officer named Gabriel Declue stood on the deck of a ship bound for the Caribbean. His mission sounded almost ridiculous: protect a single coffee plant. That plant traveled inside a glass case and almost didn't survive the journey. The Atlantic was merciless. Storms battered the ship. Fresh water began to disappear. At one point, the vessel was reportedly attacked by pirates. Then came the worst problem of all: thirst. The crew received strict water rations. Every drop mattered. Gabriel Declue made a decision. He shared his own drinking water with the coffee plant. The officer went thirsty. The coffee tree drank. The plant survived. Millions of coffee trees across the Caribbean and South America would eventually descend from it. But history still wasn't finished stealing coffee, because no country wanted coffee more than Brazil. Officially, Portuguese officer Francisco de Melo Palheta had traveled to settle a border dispute. Unofficially, he was there for coffee. The governor refused his request for seeds, so Paglietta changed strategy. When it was time to leave, the governor's wife presented him with a farewell bouquet. Hidden among the flowers were coffee seeds. Brazil had what it wanted. The consequences would reshape the world. Within a century, Brazil would become the largest coffee producer on earth. An empire had been stolen, not with armies, not with cannons, but with a plant hidden inside a bouquet. And if you're still with me on this discovery journey, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. Like this video so that it reaches more people. And drop a comment if coffee's story has surprised you so far. Because the next chapter is where the story becomes darker, much darker. Every empire sends someone the bill. Coffee was no exception. By the 18th century, Europe's appetite for coffee had become enormous. Cities wanted it, merchants wanted it, factories wanted it, and every morning, demand grew larger. Someone had to clear the forests, plant the trees, harvest the cherries, carry the sacks. History decided who would do that work. The answer was slavery. Across Brazil and the Caribbean, coffee plantations spread across the landscape faster than governments could map them. From a distance, they looked beautiful. Endless rows of green stretching toward the horizon. Up close, they told a different story. Before sunrise, workers moved into the fields. By noon, the heat became relentless. By evening, the baskets were heavier. Tomorrow, the work would begin again, and again, and again. Thousands of miles away, coffee houses in London, Paris, and Amsterdam filled with conversations about liberty, rights, and democracy. The people harvesting the coffee would experience none of them. That may be the darkest irony in coffee's history. The same drink that helped fuel conversations about freedom depended upon people who had none. Coffee made fortunes, some of the largest fortunes on earth. It built estates, banks, political dynasties. But every empire prefers to hide its foundations, because foundations are rarely beautiful. History asks us to remember them anyway, because every cup of coffee carried more than beans. It carried labor. It carried sacrifice. Sometimes, it carried suffering. And just as coffee was helping build empires, it was quietly preparing to help challenge them. Because history was about to hand coffee a very different role. Not the drink of empire, the drink of rebellion. History was about to play one of its favorite tricks. The drink that helped build empires was about to help challenge them. Boston, 1773. Night falls over the harbor. Crates of tea crash into black water. The British Empire is furious. Tea had become something larger than a beverage. Tea meant loyalty. Tea meant Britain. Tea meant empire. For the American colonies, drinking tea suddenly felt political. Coffee was waiting. Almost overnight, coffee transformed from an imported curiosity into the drink of independence, the drink of rebellion, the drink of a country trying to invent itself. But coffee's political career was only beginning. Across London, Paris, Vienna, and Istanbul, coffee houses were multiplying. Outside, the streets were quiet. Inside, the rooms were alive. Merchants debated trade routes. Scientists debated discoveries. Writers debated ideas that sounded impossible. Politicians debated the future. A single cup bought admission to conversations that could change careers, fortunes, and sometimes entire countries. The English called them penny universities, because for the price of a cup of coffee, anyone could sit beside merchants, scholars, and philosophers and listen. Governments watched nervously. Governments always become nervous when ordinary people begin exchanging ideas. Some rulers tried banning coffee houses altogether. Others sent spies to listen to conversations. Because rulers understood something important. Awake people ask questions. And people asking questions have always frightened those in power. Coffee had become something far more dangerous than a drink. It had become a meeting place for ideas. And ideas have changed the world far more often than armies ever did. For thousands of years, humanity lived by a simple rule. When the sun disappeared, work stopped. Then the Industrial Revolution arrived. Machines ignored the sun. Factories glowed long after darkness fell. Industry wanted more hours, more production, more workers. The question was no longer whether machines could keep running through the night. The question was whether people could. Coffee had already answered that question centuries earlier. For monks, coffee had extended prayer. For merchants, it had extended trade. Now it would extend industry itself. Steam powered the machines. Coffee powered the people standing beside them. The modern world was built by two liquids, oil and coffee. Railways ran deeper into the night. Factories stayed open longer. Cities stopped sleeping. Humanity had discovered something extraordinary, a way to negotiate with exhaustion. Then came war. Lots of it. During the American Civil War, soldiers guarded coffee supplies with astonishing determination. One Union soldier wrote, "If I cannot get coffee, I can hardly fight." By the First World War, coffee had become standard military equipment, alongside ammunition, alongside medicine, alongside food. Somewhere in a frozen trench, a soldier wrapped cold hands around a metal cup. For a moment, there was warmth. For a moment, there was home. By the Second World War, military planners assumed coffee would arrive wherever armies did. A berry discovered in the mountains of Ethiopia had become part of military strategy. Coffee had conquered monasteries, conquered empires, conquered factories, conquered battlefields. Now there was only one place left to conquer: everyday life. Victory almost destroyed coffee. After surviving empires, revolutions, and world wars, coffee became ordinary. Instant coffee, office coffee, waiting room coffee. The drink that once crossed oceans under armed guard now sat quietly in glass jars. For the first time in centuries, coffee had become invisible. Then Italy remembered something the rest of the world had forgotten. Coffee was never supposed to be rushed. It was supposed to be shared. Inside Italian espresso bars, neighbors greeted each other by name. Conversations lasted longer than the coffee itself. Coffee was not simply consumed, it was experienced. An American businessman named Howard Schultz saw that world and realized America was missing something important. Not coffee, community, not a drink, a place, not work, not home. Somewhere in between. Coffee shops returned. Then came specialty coffee. Suddenly people cared where beans came from, who grew them, how they were roasted. Coffee had reinvented itself once again, as it always had. And perhaps that explains why coffee survived when so many empires didn't. Coffee adapted. Kingdoms disappeared. Coffee adapted. Empires disappeared. Coffee adapted. Wars came and went. Coffee adapted. And eventually, coffee became part of being human. Tomorrow morning, somewhere on Earth, an alarm clock will ring. Water will boil. The aroma will fill a room. And history will quietly take its seat at the table. Inside that cup lives Ethiopia. The goats. The shepherd. Inside that cup lives Yemen. The prayers. The merchants. Inside that cup live spies, storms, smugglers, hidden seeds. Inside that cup lives plantations, factories, railroads, wars. Inside that cup lives millions of ordinary people whose names history forgot long ago. Their fingerprints remain anyway. Hidden beneath the aroma, hidden beneath the bitterness, hidden near the bottom of the cup. Espionage, slavery, revolution, executions. Those were never separate from coffee's story. They were coffee's story. If you're still with us on this journey, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our future discoveries. Like this video so that more people can uncover the hidden history sitting in their kitchens. And drop a comment if you will never look at coffee the same way again. Because history hides extraordinary stories inside ordinary things. Most of them are simply waiting for someone to ask the right question. Enjoy your coffee.